The primary type of account that we provide are donor advised fund accounts. And so those can be paid out to any charity of the client's choosing. And so they invest the assets, they give the assets to the community foundation. We invest those, they grow on their behalf. And then whenever they want to make grants out to their selected nonprofits, we administer those grants as well.
Welcome to Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast. Unlock financial clarity and confidence with expert insights to achieve your goals. Hosted by Jeb Graham, Ethan Hutchison, and Eric Wymore. Each episode offers decades of combined expertise in wealth management, retirement planning, and more. Join us for practical strategies to inspire your financial journey. Now your hosts.
Welcome to Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast. My name is Jeb Graham, managing partner at Metcalf Partners Wealth Management with co-hosts and partners Ethan Hutchison and Eric Wymore. And today we have a special guest. It is Annie Burndrett from the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. So Greater Kansas City Community Foundation is here in Kansas City. And I wanted to, first of all, just introduce you, Annie, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what a community foundation is, and more specifically about the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation.
Yeah, thanks, Jeb. Well, I'm happy to be here to talk about charitable giving with you for your clients. And ultimately, Greater Kansas City Community Foundation and community foundations at large are designed to help support a specific group of people. So here in Kansas City, our mission is to help connect our donors with causes that they care about and help to grow their money so that they have more money to give. A quick note, we are actually the third largest community foundation in the country, and there are about 900. So as far as assets, contributions, and grants out the door, we're the third largest. So that really points to the fact that Kansas City is a center of philanthropy, which is really, I think, exciting.
Well, that's super impressive given Kansas City's size versus some other cities out there, that we would be third in the country. So
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And really, one of the ways that we're able to do this support of our donors is by providing charitable accounts for their giving to help support the causes that they care about.
Awesome. Well, very good. So you mentioned charitable funds. Tell us more about the kinds of charitable funds that the Community Foundation administers and why someone would use a fund for their giving. You know, I know we have a lot of clients that like to give to charity, and I think a lot of them, I feel like the go-to is they just pick a couple charities and they send money to the charities on their own. And I don't think a lot of people know about the different things that you can do to either, I think you're going to talk about kind of front-loading contributions to a foundation account. I also think that clients just in general aren't that educated on charitable giving. So I think, tell us a little bit about the different types of funds that you guys have.
Yes. So just like saving for a goal like retirement, clients can open funds with us that help to grow the assets towards the goal of giving. And so the primary type of account that we provide are donor advised fund accounts. And so those can be paid out to any charity of the client's choosing. And so they invest the assets, they give the assets to the community foundation. We invest those, they grow on their behalf. And then whenever they want to make grants out to their selected nonprofits, we administer those grants as well. And so by saving for future gifting, you can grow the assets and have more to give. And so that's really, the infrastructure that we've created in order to help support people's philanthropy. People can do that in a variety of different ways. So you had talked about front loading, some individuals who are charitably inclined, while they're saving for retirement, they're also saving for their giving in retirement. They may know that they're going to be giving to their church a certain percent of their income. And so in their highest income working years, they're able to take those tax deductions for the contributions into their donor advised funds, grow those assets, and then have that earmarked for their giving in retirement. Appreciated stock is a common type of asset to give into these accounts as well, because that helps to leverage the client's tax savings. They don't have to pay capital gain on the appreciated stock. That stock can go into a donor advised fund and then, of course, be a deduction for the fair market value of those stocks.
So theoretically, I know Ethan and Eric and I were talking about this just the other day. You could have, say you bought XYZ stock for $20,000 and now it's worth $100,000. So basically you've got $80,000 of capital gain on that. So if you were just going to sell that, you'd have $80,000 capital gain. But what you can do is you can donate that to a donor advised fund. Doesn't even have to go to charity that year. Correct. So basically you're completely avoiding that capital gain and you're getting a $100,000 deduction basically for gifting that stock there.
Yes. The only caveat I would say, I'm not a tax advisor, depending on your tax situation, all of those kinds of things, but absolutely.
So is there any time that somebody has to give it to a charity buyer? Could that literally sit there for hundreds of years? Or or 10 years, 20 years? It could sit there for hundreds of years. We are a community foundation that is very dedicated to getting the money to work in our communities. And so we really do encourage people to identify charities that they want to support. We have philanthropic advisors that can help guide that as well if they want to set charitable goals, look at what they're wanting to achieve, and have philanthropic advisors within our organization introduce them to organizations that support those values. We have that, so we have the full infrastructure to help the clients give. And that could become a generational thing for a family if they wanted it to, where you have, because you can change over time who's directing the charitable fund as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have successor advisors. And so we do see, family giving, memorial funds, things like that. That grandparents started, their kids continue to administer, and now they're bringing in, the third or fourth generation with their grandkids, great grandkids. It's beautiful to see.
Hey, Annie, it sounds like there's a lot of tax strategies that are involved with giving and with the foundation. Are there any unique strategies that you see your clients or our clients implement?
That's a great question, Eric. Anytime that there is a taxable event on the client's horizon, so whether that's a business sale, inheritance, even a sale of real estate, these are all times in which a client should be thinking about using a donor advised fund or similar charitable giving account to be able to avoid some of the taxes on that and be able to fund their giving for the future. We do specialize at unique assets. And so even business interest, private equity, there's a lot of different types of assets out there that aren't your typical stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And so at the Community Foundation, we specialize in those unique assets.
Nice. Annie, you mentioned appreciated stock that can be donated. You mentioned unique business interests. What are some other asset classes that can be contributed to a donor advised fund? Like I know cryptocurrency and Bitcoin's taken off right now. Clients just cut a simple check and push cash through? What is the abilities of those funds?
So yes, Ethan, we are able to accept cryptocurrency. We're able to accept, of course, checks, cash, appreciated stock, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. We have even derivative, alternative investment. So really across the board, we pride ourselves in being flexible at the Community Foundation. And so we really take each donor situation on a case-by-case basis. So for any type of unique asset that a donor is looking at giving, we really try to work with them in order to be able to accept that.
Annie, I've been to several events with the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation, been involved in other charities that use their funds. And one thing that keeps popping up a lot is the word bunching. And I wonder if you could maybe spend a minute or two kind of explaining what bunching means.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Eric. That's a great question. So, of course, there are the large philanthropists who have a lot of money to give away and are having those assets at work. But for the everyday investor, bunching is a very common strategy that we see utilized in donor advised funds. So that means that a client is taking a standard deduction in some years. And then in other years, maybe every third year, they are itemizing their tax return. And in those years, they're going to be typically we're seeing appreciated stock donated or cash or any other type of asset that they can itemize and write off on their tax deduction. And so those assets are then invested. And sometimes they're granting those out for the next years. So in other words, if somebody gives $10,000 a year, they're putting $30,000 a year every 3 years in, and the other years they're itemizing their tax return.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the year that they donate that $30,000, even though they're going to split that into the next 3 years, they get the $30,000 deduction. Is that correct?
You've got it. Yep, exactly. And they get the $30,000 deduction, and maybe that was a $10,000 investment that has $20,000 appreciated stock, the capital gains like we were talking about before. So we've talked a lot about donor advised funds, which is the primary type of account that we offer, but we also do offer designated funds and scholarship funds. And so designated funds are a fund that is designated to one charity or one particular institution. So that could be a church or an area of interest for your donor. And a scholarship fund is, of course, to support students at a very critical time in their life, really being able to lay the groundwork for their future. It's very rewarding for donors, and it's wonderful for students. And as a quick note, we actually are in our application process. So we both accept the assets for scholarship funds. We also administer the application for the scholarships, and we handle all of the communication with students. So right now, if any of your listeners have college-age students, grandkids, nieces, nephews, neighbors, anybody that they think could benefit, they can go to growyourgiving.org/scholarships. And some scholarship deadlines are in February. So I do encourage anybody listening to get on there, take a look. They can create a user profile, and it will populate any scholarship that they are eligible for based on what they enter. So that's a really wonderful way that the Community Foundation is able to lay the groundwork for a brighter future for students.
That's an awesome benefit. So real quick, how many different scholarships do you know?
We have hundreds, and we actually have ones that are nationwide. We are a nationwide community foundation. We do focus here in Kansas City, but we have hundreds. And depending on the criteria, they're not all collegiate scholarships. Many of them are, but there's a wide range of scholarships. So they're not all necessarily scholastic based. There's just a wide range.
So if we were a donor, if one of our clients was a donor and wanted to start a scholarship fund, is there a minimum that a scholarship needs to be? Like, can you do a $500 scholarship? Does it have to be a $5,000 scholarship?
The minimum account size for the overall scholarship fund needs to be $25,000, but the scholarships out the door don't have that minimum. And so the actual account size that the investment needs to be is that minimum of $25,000. A quick note here on how one can fund that. Qualified charitable distributions from IRAs are eligible in both designated funds and scholarship funds, whereas you cannot put that in a donor advised fund. And so if you have a client who has an IRA and they're not needing those required minimum distributions, they can do a qualified charitable distribution, a QCD, and put that into a scholarship fund or a designated fund.
When it comes to our clients, if they wanted to do business with the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation and they wanted to set up an account, can you talk about how they can either go direct and when they would go direct, or when and how they could set this up through their financial advisor?
Absolutely. So we have different avenues of investing. And so if the account is under $100,000, it can be invested in our low-cost investment pools. And that's similar to a 401k. We have aggressive to conservative investment pools. So just like you do on your selection within a retirement plan like that, you can do a custom mix. If it's over $100,000, then you can use your financial advisor to manage those assets. And so that they are selecting the investments within your designated fund, scholarship fund, or donor advised fund. And you're working with your financial advisor to get that invested.
So if it's under $100,000, they're going direct to Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. And if it's over, they can still go direct to Kansas City Community Foundation, or they can use their financial advisor to manage the funds as well, correct?
Exactly. And in either one of these situations, we have a donor portal, which each donor has access to in order to administer their grants. And so you can set that up to be a monthly grant if you know that you give to your church each month or give to certain organizations on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, or you can do one-time grants on there as well. And you can give your financial advisor access to that portal. or have that, take care of that all on your own.
Well, Annie, thanks so much for coming on today. Just a reminder, website for the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation is growyourgiving.org. So that's whether you want to go apply for a scholarship, whether you want to set up a donor advised fund or a direct fund. I think you can go to Grow Your Giving and at least check out Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. And Ethan, Eric, thank you. And this has been a great few minutes that we got to spend together. And this is Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast. We hope today's episode provided valuable insights to help you unlock financial clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. For more expert advice and resources, visit metcalfpartners.com. Until next time, make every money moment count.
Jeb Graham, Ethan Hutchison, and Eric Wymore are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through WCG Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. WCG Wealth Advisors and Metcalf Partners Wealth Management are separate entities from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly.